Everyone, welcome to another episode of Independent Artists Unite Song Series. Very special night tonight. Song and source book material series for the first time ever. Welcoming Chris from Feen and Raven Belasco, who was the author of Blood Eternal that inspired Chris's new song, Mistakes.
And it's a great
Welcome.
song. Go listen to it a bunch.
Well, you could probably tell on your Spotify artist profile that I have already done just that.
Thank you.
It's really
How
exciting to be on here. I've been looking forward to this.
and Raven, welcome. I know this is setting a new just a new what is that called? It's raising the bar to
Oh,
have like someone a classy literature person here. It's usually just scummy rock and rollers.
well, us independent authors can be pretty scummy, so we're a bit gritty, a little crusty sometimes. Uh, it's actually it's pretty dirty in the world of independent publishing, so I
Yeah.
feel like I fit right in.
So there's also the inner struggle between the Azera Mazde and the Taru
Yes,
inside.
always.
You like that?
That
You like
comes
how I?
down to I really just, oh my God, you just blew me away.
Um. So yeah, how did you come across this Blood Eternal, Chris? I mean, how did this idea happen? Let's start with that.
Friends.
Were you guys friends?
Yeah, we've been friends for am I allowed to say
Don't count
30?
those years. Don't count those years. Let's just
For
say college
years and
and pretend it
years.
was a
Oh,
little
sorry,
while
sorry.
ago.
It hasn't been
Years
30
and
years.
years.
32 years. We've been friends for about 32 years. So, um,
Since birth.
yeah,
Yes,
and
exactly.
Raven asked me to write a song to promote the new printing of Blood Eternal.
Oh,
And so I
cool.
did. She gave me the
Kind of the parameters.
and
Yeah.
I ran with it.
Oh,
Well, I
that's
mean,
so
you
cool.
took you went in and found what got you from the story. So,
Yeah, but
you know,
you pretty much you got me in this area where that there was I would take the big themes, not like a small bit, like what a blood ritual would be. You have to go for the big theme, so that's what I did. I
I mean,
escaped my own way.
I feel like a blood ritual actually could be an awesome song too.
Another time I'll do that.
All
I
right.
this was this was the song that came out of what
Yes.
my impression of the text, and I obviously put my own stuff onto it. But yeah, I hope I did it justice.
Your own stuff fit perfectly. I mean, that I love this song so much. When you sent over the lyrics, I was like, holy shit. Like this really just rocked my world.
Yeah, thank you.
It must have been a crazy experience to suddenly see your characters in a different context.
Well, that's the joy of being an author is the minute that that book goes out into the world, when people read it, they're doing the movie in their head,
Mm-hmm.
and they at that point in time, my characters become their characters. So that's actually one of my favorite parts of the whole process, is watching my characters go into someone else's mind and then come out changed,
Mm.
or just
And
in ways that I never saw them before.
well, speaking of movies, this is the really, yeah, this really has a cinematic feel to it, Blood Eternal. Of course, I've only read now the story within the story
Yes.
that Chris focused on. There's a story within a story, a play within the play,
Mhm.
a Shakespearean device,
Yes, that's exactly
which is
it.
very cool. But what made you pick that, Chris, out of everything going on in the book? What's your relationship like with your father, is what I'm getting at.
I have apparently he feels similarly about me as if you want to be completely honest. But that's neither here nor there. Point is that you can't like go into sort of like I this is this person's feelings about the whole thing. So I went there. I actually have done something similar before with but not to this extent. This is more dramatic than anything I've done with this
Mm.
band, I think. And I just wanted to just go for it. And this is the song I thought of that I felt uh represented what I read in the text. And as far as the music goes, you know that little you know how the ghost of Jim Steinman sometimes visits you and says, "Go bigger." Well, I listened to him this time, and this is what
With
happened.
fabulous results.
Yeah, no, I've heard some of the criticism I got from it, but like from players who's go like, you could have pared this down. This is a little bit much. Like, no, I could have gone bigger.
Really? I don't think so.
Oh no, I could have gone bigger. I had like some other things planned. I like this was just enough too much.
I mean, I didn't hear timpani drums.
There was
That,
no
that
cowbell.
you're right. That could have been in there.
I made mistakes. Gung, 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 gung.
Yeah, just tune that cowbell down really
Yeah.
low.
Yeah.
A contrabass cowbell. Is that
I'm requesting bass
hell
cowbell
at that
on your
point?
next number.
So
And
anyway,
Raven, let's hear a little bit about your development as a writer. Because I'll just say one thing that I think is so cool about this, and like I don't know if you've shopped it around to for a movie or anything, but it seems quite primed to be a movie. Um, is that it really is like its own world, you know? I mean, of course, like I grew up on like Anne Rice, you know, Vampire Chronicles and stuff like that. But this is also, it reminds me a bit of like Tolkien in that there are these words and language things that are unique just to this universe that you created. And it really makes such a cool, like immersive experience to read it.
That's the both of those influences are very strong. You're absolutely right. And also the fact that people really loved Game of Thrones. And so
Mm,
when I was writing that, I was like, people are ready for fantasy languages right now, you
yeah.
know. And since I did also grow up on Tolkien and Anne Rice, you know, there was no way that this wasn't going to become really immersive and that I wasn't really gonna dive in on that world building. Uh,
Mm,
and but also there is the fact that there are a lot of vampire books out there.
yeah.
So there had to be some way that mine were worth writing at all. You know, if I was just going to
Yeah.
say the same thing that everyone else has said about vampires, then why waste my time? And
Yeah.
there and you know and any reader's time. So for me, uh, the immersiveness of it was actually part of if we're going to do this, let's do this right. Let's go
Mm,
big. And actually, ironically, in book 3, when I was telling the backstory of the Ammer, which is their word for themselves in the vampire language,
yeah.
uh, that was at the time the most challenging writing I'd ever done in my
Mm,
life. So it's amazing that Chris like went in, took that part of the book that had been the most challenging for me, and then took it up a notch in his own music. Like clearly there's
yeah.
something there that kind of like makes everyone just take it up a notch, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I was, I mean, as I was like, just saw that it was kind of like about vampires. I have to say, I was like, I became a little pessimistic, like, oh,
Yes.
come on, you know, but it really is like new, really like new feeling lore, you know, and I think I'm not going to ruin it for someone. Well, first of all, I highly recommend that everyone that's seeing this read Blooded Turtle because it's a super cool ride. But I also think it's very cool how you came up with like the kind of the origin story of the vampire, the first vampire in here. Um,
Well, you
yeah,
brought up
I
Anne
hadn't seen anything like
Rice,
that before.
and she had taken ancient Babylon already. And I'm still kind of
Mm.
mad at her about that actually, because I would have loved to do that. Um, and actually I was doing some research the other day and I was reading Babylonian vampire myth, and I don't think people fully understand how much research Anne Rice did and how much she was directly
Mm.
quoting ancient Babylonian texts in her work. So I want to give her a shout out there.
Mm.
But so I was like, okay, ancient Babylon's gone. how do I, what is left for me?
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm taking it back farther. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. That was a great
I'm
idea.
making the Ammer develop alongside the human race we know of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a great idea. Great idea. And how long have you been writing novels?
So I've been writing all my life, and had short stories and articles published for, let's not even count. But my first novel came out in 2019. Um,
Okay.
and I wasn't actually an independent author then. I had signed a contract for three novels. Blood Eternal was the third of them, with a publisher who then I discovered was a terrible publisher and not people I wanted to work with. So I actually cranked out all three novels really fast because it was, fine, we're going to meet the contract. And then after that, I got the rights reverted and became an indie author, and just have learned the world of publishing on my own since then. So
Wow.
I belong on an independent artists show.
Yeah. So, and it sounds like it might have been a kind of it was in that time of COVID when many people looked inward and thought, "What the fuck is going on?
Well,
And what can I do about it?"
at first I was so distressed because, in my head, being an author meant, going on tour and, being at all these cons and,
Yeah.
I was like, well, I don't get to have that. I finally hit this point where my novel gets published and, we're not doing this.
Right.
But then I realized that actually it was hitting just at the perfect time when people needed escapism
Mm,
desperately.
yeah.
And so it was like, okay, you know what? I have an escape for you. The Blood and Ancient Scrolls series. Just dive in. Do not think about the real problems of the world for a while. Just enjoy a place where, you know, like you can kind of know that, it's going to be rough for a while, but the bad guys will, get what's coming to them.
Mm. Yeah. Get that fulfillment. And Chris, I mean, when you decided on tackling this second part of the book, then what was the creative process like for the song? Did you knew you wanted it to be like kind of a banger, or it could have been like a dark and spooky, slower
I
thing? Or
want something that was exciting.
yeah,
I I didn't want to just have it just be a song. And when I found the music, I came up with the opening riff for that. I was like, okay, this is it. This is the one I'm going to use. This is one I'll work on.
mm,
And it all came together from there. The lyrics took the longest amount of time, uh, but I didn't, you know, it wasn't arduous. And the recording process, I was worried that it was going to take a long time, but it did. It was like 2 hours of recording the vocals and over 2 days.
mm.
And like the bridge, like I had not even sung that bridge ever. So that was the second take, and I played it for Becky, and I said like, "Hey, does that Pete Burns thing at the end work?" And it's like, "No, you keep that Pete Burns thing. You keep that Pete Burns thing." I was
Yeah,
like,
it's funny how you can capture a certain energy sometimes. You don't even realize what you've done.
yeah, I didn't even realize that that was going to be that part, but as soon as I sang it, I was like, yeah, that's it, that's it right there. And it was just like overly dramatic. I felt it suited the song perfectly, and it was done well. So there we go. That happened. It's the only thing I had to record the next time was all the all the choruses again. That's all I had to redo.
Yeah, also feel like maybe I'm just making this up in my mind, but with that keyboard hook, I feel like this is like your most new wave song so far,
Oh yeah.
and it also kind of takes me back to that, at least the time when I also was reading Anne Rice. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a cool trip, and then I think it's such a cool combination of like new wave and goth rock, with your baritone voice. growling it out. It's an excellent combo.
Yeah, no, I had to go and do the voice had to be nice and somber because everything else was so big.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
figured
yeah.
like I had to go tone it down. That's what I had to do. That delivery had to be a little more toned down and easygoing because everything else was just frantic. So I figured,
Yeah. Well, right. Well, also maybe you were taking on this character as well of the father because he was always trying to keep his cool, right? When he
oh
was
yeah, you're trying to hold
arguing
someone.
with his son was like a hothead, and he's like trying to. I can't think of his. What's his name?
Agamil.
Bagamel. Bagamel. Yeah, Bagamel. Yeah, yeah. So you kind of took on this, elder statesman calm, of the character as well. But
Yeah,
I think
I hate
also
to
think
say this,
it's
Raven. I
okay.
just want to let you know. I hate to say this, but whenever I pictured Bogmo in my mind, I did make picture Matt Berry from what we did with Shadows. So I,
Well, you were actually supposed to be seeing Freddie Mercury.
oh well, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, was that right?
Yeah.
See,
That makes
I
more
was
sense.
seeing myself. I was like, I have to play this role.
Good. Good. That's great. That's even better. Although you don't quite have the mustache for it, but
Oh, well,
I tried growing a mustache. It does not work on me. I'm in my 50s and I can't grow good facial hair. It is I
well,
shaved on
if you've seen
Friday.
Nosferatu, you can see what they could do with a
oh
fake
yeah.
mustache.
I actually watched Nosferatu because someone had asked me what I thought of the mustaches in the mustache in Nosferatu. So I actually watched the film for mustache rating. Um,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was
Where
a great film. I loved it on every level,
I
but
have to say, oh
mustache,
yeah,
own
there's
thing.
one thing about that is that it's what I don't like about Nosferatu character in general is that I feel like I'm just a fan of like the sexy vampire. There's got to be something. It can't just be totally grotesque, I think. There's got to be something where you're like, .
You're absolutely right, and that's because the vampire has from the Romantic era been the sexy monster. You
Yeah.
know, there were plenty of monsters that were just, pure ugly, pure evil, no distracting sexiness. But
Mm.
and the vampire originally started that way, just basically as a ghoul, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but the minute that the romantics got their hands on the vampire, it immediately just became the sex monster.
Mm.
And had the tie-in of standing in for sexually transmitted disease or the plague,
Mm.
things that can
Oh
come
yeah.
in
Interesting.
a way where you're not expecting it, and it's even seductive, but then you're paying a price.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in a way, the vampire must have that sexy element, or they don't make sense as a monster, really.
Yeah. Well, these at least in the you didn't get into too much about. Well, you kind of got into that they're well muscled, that they are kind of no, of course, very agile and like athletic and have these long hair and long robes and things like that. So they sound pretty cool looking.
Well, they're all as different as any living human.
Mm.
So all three of us could be Amber in our own styles. It's Bagamill just always kept his long hair. But in the rest of the novel, there are zero other long-haired male Amber.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so it's just Bagamill being the eldest gets to keep his own certain style, like he gets to have his own little rules,
Yeah.
because he's treated differently in that society.
I wanted to say too, Chris, that I wanted to give you props for somehow taking in all this information and whittling it down to the chorus. I've made mistakes, which is so brilliant. I mean, this is the thing, you know what I mean? This you somehow found in two, or three words, really like the heart of this character, which is like pretty amazing.
Thank you. You kind of have to because it's a pop song. Like I hate to say that, but this is you making a song, a catchy song. It's a pop song, so you gotta like, what is your message there? You gotta like bring that
Yeah.
up. you gotta distill that thing. So that's what I thought. That was my main impression that, Fook was a mistake.
Yes. Well, a hook must be short. You can't like have a paragraph long hook.
Yeah.
Um, you know. So
And that's
that's a
why I didn't like
skill that a
that's why I didn't
songwriter has.
yeah, and that's why I didn't take up most of the lyrics uh going over the story again. I figured that was too much as well. So I figured like what is the things I got away from that is like Boog was a mistake, and this guy is a booster for early civilization. And he
Mhm.
was seeing that starting to fray. So I figured those are the elements I'm going to talk about.
Mm.
I figured, and when I brought in like the whole like analogy with the jar, the
The
old jar,
pottery
I
and
was like,
yeah,
what's this? What would be surviving from his time?
yeah.
Like a jar. It was that simple, and it wasn't anything more complex than that. But I figured that comparison worked.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Well, then too, that was like one of the symbols between the two kind of warring factions was that one embraced like pottery and new things, and the other ones were getting their water and the animal skins and
Yep.
going retro,
Yes.
retro hunter gatherer. But yeah, you did a brilliant job of that. And also, I have to say, before I even knew what you were doing with this song, it's just a great, I mean, it's just like something that everyone can identify with immediately. I've made mistakes, off a great hook. I was just like, oh, everybody can relate to that instantly. And then if you want to take a deeper dive and into the lyrics and what it's all about, then you can do that. Or you could just everyone can identify with that notion of I've made mistakes.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the song has to survive on its own, but it also has to get people excited for Raven's book. So
Yeah.
I think I did both.
I think so too. I mean, you got me
Well,
excited for my own book, so
thank
Yeah,
you for
I'm excited for it too. And now that I've started with part two. Now I'm going to go through the whole thing, which I'm really excited about. Um, but how can people get the book, Raven? Just in case we've excited other people, but at this point,
one can hope. It is extremely easy to get the books. The whole series is on Amazon.
okay,
And you can get them in paperback, ebook, or audiobook. The first two books are an audiobook. Sadly, Blood Eternal isn't yet. That's in the future. And then there is a collection of three novellas in a book called Blood Triad, which is also in audiobook as well. That gives backstories to some of the other Ammer who are side characters in the main series, but who came to me and were like, "Yeah, we're not side characters, bitch. Write it up. Make us main characters." Um, so so yeah, so all on Amazon. If you don't like doing business with Amazon, it's all wide as well. You can go down to your local library, get them out, and on the audiobooks are on overdrive through your library. You can go to your local bookstore and request things, and please do. That's my favorite thing, is to support local bookstores and libraries. But you can also grabbing the name. First book in the series is Blood Ex Libris. Come on, go in focus, please. There we go. There we go. If I put it by my face, it'll be in focus. And so that's where to start. So if you start from there, you'll get all of them. Second book is Blood Demands, then Blood Eternal, and then Blood Triad is the most recently published. And yeah.
well, we'll do some promo for this show and put links in and stuff like that too.
Great, thank you
for that. Now, Chris, knowing your penchant for doing a series of songs on and following characters through, is this a one-off here, or are you going to do a series of Blood Eternal?
I have not thought about it in that case, but if Raven asks me to do another song down the line, I will definitely do one.
anything. I love what you did so much in this song. You can take anything you like from any book in the series and have fun with it.
All right. Thank you. Well, no, I have no problem with that.
Okay.
No.
Well, I was hoping for a whole, like capital series, all with
I think I'll sprinkle
blood and vampires.
my discography, for lack of a better term, will be sprinkled with some Raven Belasco songs, I think. That's good.
But
But
is
yeah,
your plan
Capital will be
to
done.
do just kind of standalone songs now and not do a whole like series like you did before with the?
No, I'm doing the series is still going on. Capitals will end next month.
Oh, okay. So you're continuing that and then
Yeah, I need the break from that.
oh, okay.
So I
Oh,
like I want to do this, and
okay. I didn't
I
understand that. All
and
right.
now I'm regrouping, gonna get that one last song put out, and start up the next cycle that I already have started planning.
Okay, okay, okay.
It's gonna be called Useful.
All right. Nice.
Wouldn't we all
Um,
like to be?
it must have been a great feeling, when you saw your book in a bookstore for the first time.
It so I actually have a video clip of it on YouTube and Instagram.
I'll have to
It was
check for that.
actually the local bookstore in the town in which I'd grown up, and they ordered in my books, and then they messaged me and were like, "Hey, can you come in and sign the books?" And so I got to like go down and
That's so
sign
cool.
all the books so they could sell art, signed by the author copies.
Yeah.
Uh, and just have the owner of the bookstore like hanging out and like treating me like I'm a rock star, uh, and
Priceless.
showing me where the books are in the store, walking
Yeah.
me around, and it was all the hard work of dealing with the publishing industry was absolutely worth it in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I had a band in the 90s in New York City and we had an independent record deal. And this was back when there were still Tower Records. So I got to I'm probably like the last phase of rockers that came along that got to see their CD in a record store. But I got to see my CD in Tower Records, and I remember that was a wonderful moment.
I can only imagine.
Well, I love this partnership you guys have.
Yeah,
Well, it worked well.
it's awesome that we met in college and then have kept a friendship all these years, and we're finally actually working together as we do our own different projects.
Yeah,
I was glad to do it. It got me to broaden what I do and just like work within the strictures of somebody else's work.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
that
interesting.
was
Yeah.
nice.
Um, what has there been any talk about a movie deal or anything, or is anyone looking into that for you? It
Uh,
seems like it would be so
the
great.
the books are with a producer right now,
Oh,
but
nice.
it's just a thing where you just kind of they take the books and then the books sit with them until they get around to looking at them. So we're just doing that, but we're going to be getting the books out to more writers and producers, because you're absolutely right. I mean, you barely have to write a script for these. These are just ready to be on the TV. My
Totally.
dream is a series with a season for each book. So I feel like a 2 hour movie, too much would have to get chopped out.
Yeah, it
It
could
would
totally
lose
be
some
a
of the
series. Yeah,
yeah,
it'd
but
be great.
spreading each novel out over the episodes of a series, I think would be able to keep most of the really vital stuff, and the really
Yeah.
fascinating stuff. So that's the dream.
I think it's going to be an easy dream to sell because I see everything related to vampires.
Mhm.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
there are some real stinkers out there. I mean, whole series that just suck, you know. So I
Yes.
mean, this is just like it's just it really is a fresh uh fresh turn on a kind of a tired, what has become a tired genre because people just keep kind of referencing the same kind of Dracula lore,
Yeah.
and it's so fresh to have a new this, like I said, this new origin story and this new universe. So, well, best of luck to that. And you got the theme song for the TV show already.
Yep. It's all set.
I'm
Then
looking
you
forward
guys can
to
both just kick back and collect the royalties.
That's so nice.
That
No
is the dream.
problemo. Making money while you sleep. The dream.
May those words echo out into the universe.
Personally, I wouldn't even mind it if they got like a bigger person to like cover the song. I'd be fine with it, you know. As long as I get that check, that's good.
Well, I've been accused of being an optimist to a fault, but I believe in it. I'm a
That's what
believer.
that's what a series needs. It needs people to believe in it, you
Yeah,
know? Like that's how you get there is just building up a bunch of people who actually believe in what you're doing.
yeah, yeah.
And the same for music.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was
Thank you for
really,
inviting.
wasn't this exciting, Chris? It's normally just you and me. And then, we stop talking about the song. We just start bullshitting with each other after a while.
That's fine. You gotta get people excited. And like this banter helps people get people excited. Like, hey, they're into it.
I think you were my most frequent guest,
I think I am,
Chris.
yes.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Delphine. But from the very start.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm a huge fan. And
You
now
know,
I'm a
clips of
huge
the show.
Raven Belasco fan.
Thank you.
You saw the clips of the show?
Yeah. Yeah, that looks like it went well.
It did. I was surprised. I had a lot. I mean, I'm not surprised. I had all my friends who worked on being the live band are amazing musicians anyway, and they were into it. They
Yeah,
were
yeah, yeah.
behind it. And so,
And was that Dick Thunder or not?
yeah,
Okay.
they're
Because he
playing
didn't
great.
he looked like very like he was he
Still,
didn't look as thunderous as I thought he might.
that sound was thunderous though.
It was. It was.
Yeah, Chris Burdeck. That's his name. I can say his name now.
Dick
Well,
Thunder really just sounds like a porn name.
It does, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, thank you so much. And this is really interesting. I really thanks for doing this, Raven, and thanks for suggesting it, Chris, because Chris was like, you should really have Raven on there, and I was like, I didn't even know that that was a thing. I thought this was like some famous person, book. I mean,
I'm
you are a
working on
famous
it.
person. You're working on it,
Working on
but
it.
like not a famous person that you knew. I thought it was like a stranger's like. When I first saw it, I thought maybe it was a graphic novel or something like that.
Oh no, I was like,
Took
this is
inspiration
total
from it.
cooperation.
Yeah.
He's been around to watch this whole thing proceed. So,
Mm.
he got in on
Wow.
the ground floor.
It must be so fulfilling. I love it. I love it when these things work out, come to fruition. That's a
Thank you for
huge,
having us
huge
on
victory.
the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And we'll do it again.
Yeah,
Indeed.
and you should think about having more independent authors on the show.
Yeah, I think this could be the beginning of a thing. Yeah. Well, you can give me some
I will hook you
recommendations.
up,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because that's a cool thing. That's a cool thing to promote
Mhm.
nowadays, I think,
And
in this world of ours.
the indie publishing world is in a real rough place because so many people have now that you don't need to get an agent and a publisher and everything to be out in the world, people are pouring forth their books, and some are brilliant, and some are not.
Not
And but sorting out, the
muddying the
stuff that you
waters. Yeah.
yeah, sorting out like the stuff that you must read that will change
Mm.
your life, and then sorting out this, and then getting that from the, oh no, there should have been a filter.
Yeah, yeah,
It's really hard to do, and
yeah.
for us authors who are really dedicated, to this being our lives, getting our voices heard among the multitudes is really.
Yeah, I think it could be really cool to do more. Yeah, especially like things that have to do with like this kind of dark community or goth or this is
I
which
have
is like a
so
huge
much for
world,
you.
huge
Yeah,
literature world. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that'd be really cool. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. I
All
look forward to
right.
talking with you about it.
Well, yeah, wonderful, wonderful meeting you. Great to see you,
Pleasure.
Chris.
Good to see you.
Congratulations. This is my favorite Delphine song. I
Thank
keep
you.
saying that, but I really love this. I really love the new wave, strong new wave thing with your voice. I think it's very cool.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Great.
It's
Great
my
song.
favorite too, and not even because it's about my book.
Yeah.
I really just got
See
to
you
let
guys.